The Hyperborean is a Canadian independent horror comedy that had its premiere at a few festivals in 2023, around October, November time frame, and got a wider release on the internet very recently in 2024. And this film was completely filmed in Owen Sound, Ontario, which literally is probably like an hour north from me. So very local. I'm very familiar with the area, and anytime Canadian films, especially Ontario films, come out like this, where I totally know where they were filmed and where they were produced, I kind of have to jump on them. This was directed by Jesse Thomas Cook. Sorry, I blanked on his name there for a second. Jesse Thomas Cook, who has a production company with his wife, Liv Collins, who also stars in this film. And they basically produce films together, and they've made a bunch. I watched one of his and own one of his called Monster Brawl, and I really enjoyed Monster Brawl a lot. I find that film very fun. It's got lots of quirky humor. I have a really good time with that film. I checked this one out because the trailer intrigued me. I also saw a review on Sinister Cinema, one of my favorite channels on YouTube that I've been watching from the very beginning. Go check out Sinister Cinema reviews. They are definitely growing over there and doing a really good job still. And they review this film, and it seemed intriguing, and it seemed intriguing from the trailer. So, unfortunately, I do have to say that this film did not work for me very much, especially in comparison to Monster Brawl, which worked a lot more for me. I really was not feeling the humor of this one. I wasn't vibing with it, and it just was not making me laugh. And I think this film, it definitely revolves around its humor a lot, and there's a lot of, we're dealing with a mummy kind of thing, an ice mummy. Sorry, a laser blasting ice mummy, for fuck's sakes, as one of the characters say. And the mummy looks fantastic, and it did in the trailers, and it looked great in this film. Now, I'm sure for budgetary reasons they couldn't show the mummy all the time kind of thing, and the mummy kind of shows up in the middle of the film, right? So the rest of the film is a lot of humor, there's a lot of dialogue. We're following this, similar to Mickey's Mousetrap, there's this woman being interrogated, and she's kind of telling the story of what happened at this cabin that they were staying at. And I think it's a cabin. It's some kind of like whiskey distillery, sorry, owned by the grandfather of some of them. And he's a whiskey producer. He distills whiskey, and he finds this like really old batch, like we're talking hundreds of years old, and he wants to bottle this whiskey up and sell it for profit. And everybody knows the whiskey is shit, and this company is really going downhill kind of thing. It's not flourishing as well as it was before. But one of the girls, the daughter, I think she's the daughter, she knows that the brand basically is already selling itself, so it really doesn't matter what they produce. She even offers to like just buy someone else's whiskey and pour it and just put the label on it and just sell it as is, because nobody's going to give a fuck, because they just are after the name, the brand. But lo and behold, a laser blasting ice mummy is found in one of the barrels, and it's called a Hyperborean. A Hyperborean pretty much is like a electric gargoyle, they call it, and this is an actual urban legend. Like there's such thing as a Hyperborean, like it's an urban legend. It's a campfire story kind of thing, and yeah, the mummy's in the barrel, and the mummy, like I said, when it's on screen, it's fantastic. Like it does blast some lasers. The effects look great. I like when it blasts lasers from the eyes, and then it'll stop, and the eyes will go like it, and the sound effects with it, kind of it's really comic book style kind of thing, and I loved it. At any time the mummy was on screen, it was absolutely fantastic. The humor, like I said, it just, I wasn't laughing, and I wasn't feeling it. I was just kind of like, I wasn't getting the jokes, and a lot of them were just going over my head, and I just it wasn't working for me. It's not that, somebody else isn't going to get value out of this film, because I'm sure lots of people will, especially if you're like Canadian like myself. This is filled with lots of like Canadian humor, which generally works for me, but didn't in this case in particular. And then I really didn't care for everything that happened in the third act and everything that happened with the twists, because the mummy itself is kind of dressed up in a way, but what's underneath the mummy is something else. Like I said, a electric gargoyle, and it really starts to get very extraterrestrial. And I think that goes with the lore of the Hyperborean, because Hyperboreans do come from outer space. But it starts to get really extraterrestrial, and it starts to get really sci-fi, and in a direction that I just found boring and just non-fitting and non-interesting. I really checked out in the third act and completely lost interest there. And like I said, this is just a me thing. This is not, you know, criticizing the quality of the film or criticizing the choices, because the direction and everything obviously has a point, and Jesse Thomas Cook set out to do something, and he definitely accomplished it, and he's going to capture an audience hands down. This film is actually doing really well in the circuits and stuff like that. But speaking about my taste personally, this one just didn't work for me. Outside of the ice mummy scenes and when it starts like blasting its lasers, and anytime it's on screen, all that worked for me, and I really loved those scenes in particular. Everything else around it just really wasn't for me. So, I don't want to pick on this movie too much, because it would be unfair for me to do so, just because it didn't work for me. But that's just my thoughts and my opinions, and I want to kind of give you my perspective, so it can give you the choice on whether you want to go check it out for yourself or not. It is streaming right now, so you can definitely rent it, and I believe it's being released on Blu-ray in September. And yeah, if you're a local like me, if you're from Ontario, or if you even know Ontario, it captures the Ontario vibe for sure. And the characters they're interesting. They're very quirky for sure. You're gonna get a lot of quirky characters. Did I find them funny? Unfortunately not, but they definitely are quirky, and they're definitely caricatures of a lot of stereotypes kind of things. So that's really all I got on the Hyperborean. If it sounds up your alley, go check it out. Even just for the mummy scenes, because in my opinion, those are hands down the best. And for a low budget film, they made that mummy look awesome and act awesome. So I really like that. So that's the Hyperborean. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I will be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.